How's everybody doing? How is everybody? I would like to do a reaction now on the passing of President Trump's so called big and beautiful bill, which is a bill that I have stated in past videos that I am in opposition of it for several reasons. But I will also link on the description below a statement that was made by Senator Tom Tillis of the great state of North Carolina about how this bill will hurt his constituency in North Carolina. Over and above the fact that I am opposed to the increase of military spending from $800 billion to $1 trillion, which, by the way, the increase of $200 billion of military spending is half the GDP of South Africa, which the GDP of South Africa being $400 billion. There is not there is not a single African country that has a GDP, the full GDP of any African country that is the size of the US military spending. Just the military spending. It is just unthinkable and unspeakable and like unconscionable what they are doing. But okay, anyways, I've already spoke about that, and in terms of how it's going to hit the US taxpayers going forward, how the US is actually on a steady path of decline. This law has been passed by both the House and the Senate, and it just now awaits the signing into law by the president, which I'm assuming is going to happen in the next couple of days. And I am actually quite convinced that the passing of this bill and some of the other actions of the Trump administration, including how they handle the Dodge layoffs of workers, which even if I were to say I agree with them being laid off, the way that it was handled, as I said in some videos, was very bad, mistreating people and just treating them with disrespect, will result in the GOP losing control of the House in the coming midterm elections of 2026. And with Tom Tillis having announced now that he is not going to seek a re-election in 2026, with his term coming to an end in 2026, it is also very unlikely that the GOP will retain control of that seat in Northern Carolina. North Carolina has been trending towards being a democratic state or a blue state for a very long time. The GOP has not won the race of governor there in a very long time. They constantly don't win that governor race. They lost last year, 2024. The 2020 US Senate race, which Tom Tillis won by less than 1%. It is just incredibly tight. And so if you are taking this person who has an advantage of being an incumbent, and then you are saying that, as President Trump has said, that he is going to primary him, and the primary basis being that this person is not 100% doing everything that President Trump wants him to do, that's not a good sign in a state like North Carolina, which is not firmly a red state. And they are going to live to regret this. So there's some very good things also in this bill, like extending the tax cuts from 2017, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, funding the border wall, and all of those things. That's not the problem with this bill. The problem with this bill is all of this extra government spending. Why were you What was the purpose of the first 4 months of your administration of saying that you are cutting spending when the first budget that you pass actually increases spending? What is this? Like, what is the meaning of this? Really, what is the meaning of this? And that's really at the heart of why a lot of people are upset with this bill. And it is very difficult to imagine that people who don't have blind allegiance to President Trump, I'm talking about independents, who are the ones who determine who wins elections, it is very difficult to imagine that they're going to stick with the GOP in 2026. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they will just manage to win the House. I expect that they'll win the Senate because it is very difficult to. They will have to lose at least 5 Senate seats in order for them to lose the Senate, and that's very unlikely. Because even if they lose 4, they will still have 50 senators, which means most things can be passed with the Vice President J.D. Vance breaking the tie. So I don't see them, which means President Trump can still confirm judges and all of that stuff. So I'm not concerned about the Senate. What I'm concerned about is the House, because that would mean that for the last 2 years of the Trump presidency, he won't be able to get any of his legislative priorities done, just because they are so stubborn on the issue of this particular bill. But let's just wait and see. Let's see, maybe I'm wrong. Every poll that has been done has shown that Americans oppose this bill. Polls that have also been done by the right-wing Fox News. And so polling is not always accurate, obviously, and let's see. We will see. We will only know in December 2026 once the midterm election has happened and all the results have been tabulated, and we know who will have control of the House of Representatives in January of 2027. Cool. Cheers, folks. See you on the next one.